everyone, and welcome back. We are looking at anxiety, and I'm very excited to start session 3. As always, please remember that I'm a quantum life consultant. I'm not a medically trained doctor. Should you display any worrying symptoms, please visit a doctor to assist you. This podcast is not for diagnosis or treatment. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so let's recap what we've learned in session 1 and session 2. Anxiety is a response. It is a response to stress, environment, lifestyle, and your epigenetic markers. It is also the response of the body for the fight, flight, and freeze reaction. And the longer you are stuck in that reaction, the body will then be stuck in the amygdala hijack and free-floating anxiety. Okay, anxiety and the womb. So let's track it all the way back. So let's say that you were kind of born anxious, and that's usually because of 2 reasons: either epigenetic markers, or mommy had a stressful time while she was pregnant with you. Okay, and so what happens is that cortisol is actually capable of passing through the placenta. And so what happens from mom's blood vessels, in which the cortisol is transported in her body, it then is put or placed into the umbilical cord and the fetus's bloodstream. And that's how the fetus will then get cortisol into the body. And so this is not an epigenetic marker, right? This is the environment of mommy while being pregnant. And the cortisol is then passed through the placenta into the baby's body, and the baby then is stuck, because it's not like the baby can exercise or get rid of it. The baby gets stuck with that cortisol in the body. And so what happens is when we find children that has been struggling with anxiety from a very young age, our first step will actually be to look at the epigenetic markers, or to either look and ask mommy, listen, mom, what happened while you were pregnant? Did you go through stress? And it can just be a simple thing of driving and almost bumping into someone, or, just working and you have a high stress job. All of these things do have an effect. And it's not like one-time stress will now cause your child to have anxiety for the rest of the child's life. It builds on top of each other. It's a prolonged process. So also don't be scared if you are pregnant and you've had a stressful day. Just make sure that you process while, if you are pregnant, make sure that you process and work through your anxiety. Don't allow it to become free-flowing anxiety. Okay, the next thing is an epigenetic marker. And the epigenetic marker is what we spoke about earlier. We did a whole course on it. So if you're unsure about epigenetic markers, please go and look at the podcast. You'll understand exactly how it works. And then the last thing is, you must realize that if you are pregnant, you share your body with another human being. And whatever you eat, whatever you do, whatever you experience is shared with the baby. And so it can be beautiful. But it can also be damaging if you are one of the people that ignore your problems. Okay, so anxiety as a baby or in a baby. If you are, let's say that you did not pass down an epigenetic marker of anxiety and you were not anxious while pregnant or giving birth, if something happens and you are breastfeeding your baby. Now, I know of many people that, because you have to go back to work, you don't really breastfeed past the time of maternity leave. But I do know many people that are breastfeeding until 2.5 years old. And you just need to be aware that cortisol can pass through breast milk to the baby's body. Okay, so what does anxiety look like in babies and in toddlers? So first of all, separation anxiety is quite normal in babies. They are comforted and protected by their parents, and they are quite vulnerable at this stage. And so it's a survival instinct for them to have separation anxiety, because the parents are usually the people that take care of them and know this, oh no, this is a cry for a bottle, this is a cry for a nappy. And so they do have separation anxiety. As we get older, we need to be able to go places without our parents. So if your toddler goes to school, they need to reach a stage at some point where they are able to visit a friend's house without you, or go to school and not cry every day. If they're crying every day, something is happening at school that's traumatizing them, which will cause anxiety, or they have separation anxiety. And so growing up, if we deal with our separation, if we do not deal as grown-ups who never dealt with their separation anxiety, from anxious relationships or bonds where we cannot do anything else alone or in isolation. So the problem is here, let's say you are 21, you go to a job interview. You cannot go to the job interview alone. That means you have separation anxiety. If you cannot go to the shops alone, you have separation anxiety. If you cannot drive new places alone, you have a form of separation anxiety. And so separation anxiety often goes hand in hand with social anxiety. So if you leave your child to sit with these separation anxieties, they will probably become a grown-up. If they don't choose to work on it themselves, if they may be unaware of this problem, they will probably form anxious relationship bonds. So anxious relationship bonds is when my best friend or my husband or my wife or this person is not with me, I am anxious. I can do anything as long as this person is with me, but if they're not with me, I become anxious. Okay, so identifying anxiety in children. So if you say, Natanya, I think my child has anxiety, it's probably one of these things. So finding it hard to concentrate, concentration problems, again, ADHD, not sleeping or waking up in the night with bad dreams. They don't want to eat, they don't eat properly. We'll talk a bit later about the gut and anxiety. Quickly getting angry or irritable, being out of control during outbursts, having panic attacks or having meltdowns and panics, constantly worrying or having negative thoughts. Mommy, I'm scared of this. Mommy, but what if this happens? Mommy, I'm scared of this. Anxiety, feeling tense or fidgety, using the toilet often, always crying. The child is crying often. And that's because the dopamine and the serotonin levels in the brain is dropping, and that's a reabsorption problem of the gut. If you want to know how that works, we did a podcast on Health 101, how to restore the gut. You can have a look there. Being clingy, that's again the separation anxiety, complaining of tummy aches and not feeling well the whole time, and then the separation anxiety again. Okay, so what causes anxiety for children? Things that cause anxiety for children is being separated from mom and dad, loud noises, especially babies, they jolt, they don't like the loud noises. Dogs or strange animals, even textures, just getting a baby used to textures. If you think of sand and grass, they'll start crying. It causes them anxiety. They've never felt this thing in their life. Getting hurt or being not being accepted by their peers is often a problem. Performance in school and sports, putting pressure on them. I grew up with friends. If they didn't get 80%, then they were punished physically, beaten, or cell phones get taken away, etc., etc. Now, if your child's capabilities are 90s and they are getting 40s, by all means, please, 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 please have a chat with your child and have some repercussions in place. But children sometimes get so scared if you tell them that they got 75 because their parents expecting they must get 80. And so, or they must be top student and they must be the best in all the sports and they must do this and they must do that. Now, some kids do function, are high functioning kids, and they can achieve that with little to no effort. But if you start comparing your child to one of those children and your child's capability is not that, your child will experience that stress. And often the stress that is placed upon children by their parents' expectations of them to be perfect becomes a big, big, big root of anxiety for kids. Or mom and dad achieved this, I must also achieve that, feeling that they're not good enough, looking at their peers and their peers are studying, doing everything, they're doing everything the same. The peer gets 90, I get 60. Why? And then they stress. They don't want to be bullied. No one wants to be bullied. Okay, so for grown-ups, it looks vastly different. Finances, relationship, work, pressures for deadline, all traumas repeating itself. That's one of our biggest fears as grown-ups. We don't want to have the same traumas as a grown-up that we had as a child. We will do anything to avoid it. And that is what we call, we'll touch on that later again, an idea allergy. Your mind is so scared of the past repeating itself. It creates an allergy for the idea that is connected to your trauma. Childhood triggers, not dealing with your old traumas will definitely cause anxiety. And then trapped emotions, things that you felt that are negative, are stuck in the body, they will create anxiety symptoms. Okay, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed session 3 with me, and then I will see you next time. Have a lovely day.